Welcome to Wine Soundtrack South Africa. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world. In 30 answers, discover their stories, personalities, and passions.
Hello friends and listeners of Wine Soundtrack, this is Amy McIver, and today I'm in conversation with Vanessa Mead from Highlands Road Winery. Vanessa, thanks for joining me today. Tell us a little bit about your very colourful journey with wine.
Well, I've been in wine for about 28 years now, been involved with wine. Started off from the hotel industry aspect and catering. And I've now been with Highlands Road for almost 5 years. We've just completed our 6th harvest, and I hope to be still involved in wine for many years to come.
Now, how is wine producing going during lockdown?
It's been challenging. It was a challenging harvest to start with before we knew anything about lockdown. We had quite an unusual weather bout this year. Lots of unexpected little bouts of rain, which made the harvest quite challenging, especially considering in our area we specialize in Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc is very sensitive to rot, especially when we have those sort of climatic conditions. That's where our focus was in about early February. We were aware of COVID-19 and the challenges it was posing to other wine-producing countries in the world. But my goodness, we blinked and then it was our problem and we had to deal with it. It has affected us in that we've had to be very vigilant in testing and controlling the behavior of our staff. Most of us were not finished harvest yet by the time the lockdown came. So a lot of quick education had to be done to harvest teams, to the men that work in the cellar with me. But I must say, they have all embraced that education and have embraced the new rules so readily. I'm tremendously proud of them.
That's good to hear. Now, Vanessa, I've only personally recently discovered the Elgin region as a wine region, but I'm absolutely in love with it. Tell us a bit about the history of wine in Elgin.
Well, it's not very long. From what I know, I think Paul Kluwer were the first ones to start producing wine in the valley. And of course, they've set quite a good standard. We know that the wines from Paul Kluwer are excellent and really reflect what this valley can produce. It's very much about climate. We are the coolest growing wine region in the country, and that assists us a lot when it comes to obtaining the complex aromas, especially in the delicate cultivars like Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc.
One of my favorites of your production is the Chardonnay, and I'm not typically a Chardonnay drinker. Why is yours so different?
Well, it's many factors. I've been making Chardonnay for 25, 26 years. I've never been able to make Chardonnay the way I can make it in Elgin, though. The main contributing factors, yes, once again, that climate, the soil types. Here on Highlands Road, we mainly have Coffee Clip and Koa Bokkerveld shale, little bit of Table Mountain sandstone. Those are wonderful contributors in the soil to the type of flavors that we get in the fruit. I suppose it's the style of wine making as well. Here at Highlands Road, it's a natural ferment from beginning to end. A very disciplined selection of French oak cooperage. And between these three factors of super duper healthy, imbalanced fruit, fantastic French oak, natural fermentation, controlling the temperature, controlling the environment, and strict selection when the berries and the grapes come in. Not much in the way of mechanization here, but we get all hands on board and we sort like Trojans and make sure only the good stuff goes into every harvest of Chardonnay.
So good old-fashioned winemaking.
That's it, yes.
And Vanessa, for people that don't know the estate, how large is it and how much do you produce?
We've got about 9.3 hectares under vine. The estate itself is about 25 hectares. That gives us about 100 tons per year. It differs depending on what styles we are doing. We sell a lot of our Sauvignon Blanc grapes to other producers. Some of the producers that are producing the best products in the country, we are proud to say. The grapes in Elgin are highly sought after all over the country at the moment.
Well, that shows in your wines. I mean, your wines are multi-award winning. Talk to us about some of the awards that your wines have accomplished.
Well, we've done very well with Sauvignon Blanc. We did get a F&B Top 10 award for the Sauvignon Blanc. We've managed to get a Platter 5-star award for our wooded Sauvignon Blanc. Chardonnay is doing very well. We did get a double gold at Varieties last year, which we were tremendously proud of. Semillon is doing well, also getting its string of awards. Yeah, the awards are fabulous. They certainly help. But at the end of the day, our main endeavor is to please our wine consumer and customer, and to make sure that every glass of our wine that they get to enjoy is a delicious experience.
Another one which I personally think is spectacular is your Sinacera. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes. Now, the Sinacera was Michael White, the owner's brainchild. The name comes from a Latin term. The Italian sculptors would use the term Sinacera if they worked on a piece of art that required no adjustment. So Sina means without, Cera would mean paste. So the sculptors were allowed to add a paste to fix little blemishes or mistakes they had made while working on a piece of art. But if it was one that was perfect as a once-off, requiring no adjustment whatsoever, it would be called a Sinacera.
So interesting. Vanessa, are your wines available internationally, and if so, where?
No, not yet. We are working on our export markets. I know Michael is very busy in England with it, so there's lots for us to do after lockdown. Sure.
So locally in South Africa, then where would one find your wines?
Mainly in Johannesburg, Port Elizabeth, and in Cape Town. The restaurant scene of Johannesburg, the wines are quite well represented there. And Michael does a lot of private tastings and private corporate tastings with our wines, where he makes the wines available for purchase directly.
And just getting to know you a little bit better, did you always want to be a winemaker?
Yes. Started off in the hotel industry, but from a point of buying wine for the hotel biz, training wine staff, but always wanted to get into the production of it.
And what's your earliest memory of wine?
Probably enjoying a bottle of Chateau Latour in 1984.
Wow.
I had a German boyfriend who was what they called in those days a wine merchant or a negociant, and he had access to a fabulous wine collection. And after sharing this bottle of Chateau Latour in 1984 with me, I was sold.
That was it. No turning back.
Yes.
Vanessa, do you see yourself as a typical winemaker?
What is typical? Probably traditional. I'd be more of a traditional winemaker. I see winemaking as an artisanry profession. It's not quite as much magic as what people might want to believe. Quite often there's a bit of magic, but there's also a lot of common sense, a bit of engineering, a bit of chemistry, a bit of good luck, and a bit of good weather too. So more the traditional winemaker, and understanding that the profession is multifaceted.
What's your favorite wine that you produce?
I can't. I don't.
And talk to us about your beliefs in sticking to the so-called wine rules. I mean, would you drink a white wine with red meat and a red wine with fish, for example?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think anyone needs to be restricted and to stick to those old-fashioned concepts. Try the wine. If the wine and the food are a good match and the result is pleasing, then it's working. Irrespective of what some old book or publication has told you. Just try it.
And if you had to have a famous person dead or alive, pictured with a bottle of your wine, who would that person be?
I hope he drinks wine. I'm sure he does. But it would probably be Desmond Tutu.
That's an interesting choice. Why him?
I have a huge amount of respect for what Desmond Tutu has done for our country, for unifying us as a nation. I think his intellect has so much allure, and his philosophy to life is just very appealing to me. It would be a great honor.
We should send him a bottle.
I think so. And you got to eat the drink.
Vanessa, if you had an opportunity to travel anywhere in the world and tour various wine estates, where would you choose to go?
There are so many. At the moment, I'm quite fascinated with the concept of sherry. So I'd like to go to Spain, and I'd like to go to the sherry area and regions of Spain and just get to know the art of this particular style of wine a little more. And I think the only way you do that is to go to the origin.
And immerse yourself in it.
Yeah.
Have you ever made sherry?
No.
Have you made sparkling wine?
No.
So those are avenues as yet unexplored for you.
Absolutely, yes.
What would you say has been your favorite bottle of wine you've ever drunk by any winemaker? Would it be that bottle that your German boyfriend shared?
No. I was impressed by those wines. I mean, of course, they were French and very expensive, etc. But we have many South African equivalents that perhaps even surpass those wonderful Chateau Latours.
Such as?
Well, there's the Le Bonnier Cabernets. They were the ones that took my attention when I realized I couldn't afford Chateau Latour too often. The Rustenfrieders, the Rustenburgs. When it comes to the fabulous white wines that South Africa during the Constantia Valley just puts out a continuous batch of beautifully made, beautifully crafted, world-class wines all the time.
I'm so glad you raised that, because I wanted to ask how you feel we rate among winemakers worldwide.
Yes, I think we can certainly hold our own in the international arena. Our entries into the international wine and spirit competitions, as well as many of the other international competitions, is certainly proving that. We're doing well, we are performing in those arenas, we can hold our own. We're producing super wine in South Africa.
Speaking of super wine, tell us about this incredible bottle you've just opened now for us to share.
It's the Semillon 2018. It's not quite released yet. We only bottled it in February, so we're still letting it rest and come back into its own. It was a very small batch, totally fermented in second and third full French oak barrel. At Highlands Road, when we say a wine is wooded or oaked, it always means there was an actual barrel involved. It's not that I'm against staving or chips or so. It's totally allowed, it's totally acceptable. It's just a style at Highlands Road. Oaking means a barrel exists and the wine was in that barrel. It's, as I say, the 2018 vintage. Because it's 100% French oak fermented and matured, the wine has got quite a weight to it, as you can taste, as you're tasting with me.
And a beautiful rich color.
Yes. Once again, the French oak is making its contribution there. But lovely fresh aromas on the nose, so the richness in the middle palate almost comes as a slight bonus and surprise. And then, of course, that very generous length.
And when is this likely to be available for purchase?
Towards October.
And hopefully that'll coincide with an end of lockdown so that we can purchase plenty of it.
I hope so. I hope lockdown comes a little before that so we can get it labelled and market ready.
Vanessa, before I let you get back to your cellar, I'd just like to play a quick game with you. If you had to pair this bottle of Semillon with a song, what would you choose?
Probably Cajun Moon by Randy Crawford.
Ah,
one of my favorites.
Nice choice. And if you had to pair the Sinacera?
Something probably a little more downplayed. Maybe The Prayer by Josh Groban.
Oh, that's a good one.
Good
one. And lastly, your Pinot Noir, which I also absolutely love. We haven't even spoken about your Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir, it's a small production nowadays at Highlands Road because the grapes are so highly sought after. So we are forever trying to make sure that we just get enough for a few barrels for our own production every year. Pinot Noir from this area is fabulous. We are dealing mainly with the clone 115, which gives us the dark cherry characteristics. And that dark cherry in combination with the French oak, which gives you the slight bit of almond.
Can taste it already.
Really, yes, it works very well. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Vanessa, if people want to find out more about the farm or visit you, how can they go about that?
By going onto our website, www.Highlands Road Estate or Highlands Road Wines, and paying a visit to the farm. We're not that far from Cape Town. It's a hop, skip and a jump. As soon as lockdown's over, we're expecting visitors.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time today, Vanessa, and take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack South Africa. For details and updates, visit our website winesoundtrack.com.